There are some men who may have too much pride to say this, but I do not. I need some help from the ladies. Need some help. So
you ain't gonna find a lady here.
what term should I use?
You'll find some women, but you ain't gonna find no ladies.
Oh,
Find
there's a
some
difference.
chicks.
Chicks, women over ladies. Got it. Okay. Well, I think in a world where, I'm doing a podcast called In the Moment, which is under Bert's Network Pioneer, and it's me and my dude. And I know we have a lot of women who listen to the podcast. And I'm always in my head about not wanting to become the podcast that is just all men, all men's opinions all the time. And I'm always seeing the complaints from women saying all of these guys on these podcasts that don't have a woman on them are always talking about the same things and going over things that women are tired of hearing.
Why are you reluctant to put a woman on the show with you so you have that opinion in studio with you?
Wow, that was very leaping and assuming and jumping to conclusions.
Sweet.
I am not at all. I'm actually looking to put a woman in that spot. It just has not happened yet.
I'm gonna be on the show.
Yeah, yes, we're working on that.
Just gotta figure out a date.
Yep, we're figuring it out right now. But in the meantime, in between time, I would like to get the opinions from women about what y'all would prefer to hear men talk about when it comes to just anything in life. It could be dating. It could just be operating as a man. I feel like men don't do, at least the men that I know who have podcasts, don't really do a good enough job of reaching out and asking, well, what would you like to hear? I know women are tired of hearing the 50-50 conversations and just tired of hearing a lot of the things that men always bring to the table. So I thought, why not ask, what would women want to hear if you're listening to a podcast that's all men and there's no women in the seat?
Most guys will ask, what do you want to hear? And then we won't listen to their responses.
Got it. I'm going to listen.
All right, 1-855-BERT show if you want to help Mo out here.
Personally, I feel like there are a lot of podcasts out there of women lifting women up. I would like for more conversations of men lifting women up of how they can be better allies for women. I feel a lot of times women share their stories and they can be easily dismissed by men or downplayed. So it would be nice to have conversations about like toxic masculinity and making women feel safe, making women feel seen. Like how can we help women achieve or how can we help women in the pay gap? Like something that is, yes, you want to be entertaining, but it would also be nice to have somebody be like, yeah, no, I'm here to entertain, I'm here to listen, and I'm here to help. I'm here to make life a little bit easier.
I'll give you my squeaky clean answer and then I'll give you my edgy answer. Because I don't want your podcast to end up sounding like NPR because I know that's not like your vibe or anything. Mm-hmm. But I do think, to Kristen's point, I think if you look at anything from a marketing perspective, like when there's negative experiences being shared about women, you're going to get more empathetic ears from men. So you're going to get a lot of men listening to that. Whereas if you have like men sharing their positive experiences with women, like things that men love about women, the girls are going to want to tune into that to be like, oh, what am I doing well? Or what did I not do enough in my last relationship that I can start taking notes on? But I feel like my edgier answer for you is I think maybe the one thing that men and women can never really agree on, especially maybe for this age demographic that your podcast reaches, is the double standard for body counts. Like I think women get very, very frustrated that men hold women to these very chaste standards. Like, oh, if you have a body count higher than 7, like you kind of a bop. But men are then allowed to bop around and get with as many women as possible, and that's seen as like a conquest.
That's still a trophy. Like I felt like that was starting to change.
No, that's absolutely still a thing.
Okay. Yeah, for me, kind of on that same thing, like the double standards. But what I would love is like, God. So I've seen female influencers talk about dating men, and they lay out the truth, but it also irritates me sometimes because I'm like, I would like to hear a man lay out this truth. So like it's a woman being like, hey, if you go above and beyond for your man consistently and you never expect him to do the same, he's going to start seeing you as a mom. So like, I would love for you to find those female influencers on TikTok giving women advice about men and listening to that and being like, true, false, that ain't how it works. Like kind of doing a breakdown, because that's what women like. I'm not even dating and I'm getting those videos like showing like, hey, this is what it's like if you want to be this kind of woman with a man, or if you want to be this kind of woman and a man. And the whole time I'm like, this makes sense to me. But here we are, 2 women talking about what men want. I'd like to hear what men want. So I think if you like respond to women asking those questions, or the women acting like they know what men want, whether or not it's true or false, that would be really valuable for me as a woman to know what your thoughts are on it.
Here is Kay that wants to help you out. Hey, Kay, how can you help Mo out here with In the Moment?
Yes, I want men to really focus on their own business and stop talking about women's business and what women need to be doing. I just feel like if men could hold each other accountable more and be like, I don't know, a little bit better instead of women having to tell men what they need to do, I think men can help other men out. But if they stop focusing so much on what women are doing, what we're wearing, and all those other things, maybe men will actually listen to this podcast and get some help.
So give me an example.
So, for instance, someone was just mentioning body count. So instead of talking about things like body count or how a woman should be cooking or the 50-50 talks, why don't men talk about planning spontaneous dates or taking control in the relationship in that way?
Okay.
Or just being their best self. Like, what can they do for self-improvement? You know, can they go to therapy? Could they read a book? Things like that. Because women do that. You know, men go to the gym, but they don't typically work on themselves.
Mo stopped listening about 2 minutes ago.
I was working on myself.
Just adding on to what Kay is saying, there's a couple of accounts I follow on Instagram that I find highly amusing, and they are calling men out for their bad behavior. And I know sometimes you can have girl code, sometimes you can have bro code. I think it would be refreshing for men to call out other men for like their like transgressions, for their bad behavior. And it's like, no, that's not how you need to move in life. You're not respecting yourself and you're not respecting the women around you.
See, but wouldn't that be a double standard? Because if the women get to call the men out for their bad behavior, why when the men call the women out for theirs, it's looked at as a negative thing?
It's not one or the other. Like you can call women out. I feel like you can call anybody out. What I have seen, and this is something that leads to, I don't want to misspeak because I haven't seen the movie Adolescence, but how young men's minds are getting kind of warped and melded by this messaging of this toxic masculinity and things of that nature.
Yes,
I feel like it's important to have positive male influences in showing that it's cool to respect women. And if you see a dude that says something or speaks out of pocket or is being disrespectful to women, call him out on it, man. And I feel like it has more weight and more power if a man does it than if a woman does it. Because if a woman does it, then you're just complaining again.
I personally don't have any problem with a podcast like yours calling women out for the BS that we do in relationships. I think maybe just as long as it's balanced. Because then I think if it's like all negative about women, then people get the impression like, oh, then this is just like a woman hating podcast.
I think it's an interesting comment the last caller made also. And I think you and I might live in bubbles as well. Because you tend to hang out with people that are like you. And I know that you are always working on yourself. You are always thinking. I feel the same way about myself. So I've naturally sort of surrounded myself with men that do that as well. And I think you do too.
Absolutely.
So that's why when she said that, I could see on your face, like, I don't know, that's true.
Yeah.
But I don't know if most men work on themselves or not because the men I'm around do.
And that's why I'm asking, right? Because a lot of the time and I could answer some of these questions, but I'm listening. I just want to listen now to get a better understanding of what women hear when we do say certain things. Because I do think a lot of the time it really is just communication. You may not be saying it right. The delivery could be off or there's not enough balance, as Abby mentioned. So even though I may not always agree, I still want to listen to the perspective so that I can feel like we're not isolating women who listen to the podcast.
Hey, Kim, good morning. You have some advice for Mo on his podcast in the moment?
I do. I'd love to hear him talk about parenting, co-parenting, gender roles, non-gender roles, just everything from a male's perspective, but be open-minded, please.
So would you listen to a podcast like that for a man's perspective on things, or are you listening for a man's perspective on women, or if the men are absorbing what the women are trying to say?
I'm not listening for the absorbance. I want to hear what the men think about it and to validate their thought process, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I got it. Makes sense to me. Mm-hmm.
And here's the last one. Good morning, Amanda. You're on the Bert Show. What do women want to hear in a podcast like Mo's that are two dudes at this point?
What I would love to hear is more support when it comes to men and like what Kim was talking about. just when it comes to family values, because I feel like there's a lot of support for women when it comes to that. I just don't feel like there is enough of that for young men, especially in men now.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you for your input.
That help out?
That did. It helped out a lot. Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
When's the next time you're recording?
Monday.
Monday. All right, it's called In the Moment. You can find it on any podcasting platform.
The Bert Show.